Okay, I, I had some problems here, so it's fixed now. We can go ahead. Once again, this is another edition of the Guyana Dialogue. Today with us is Professor Narayan Prasad, who is a professor of social psychology. He also has vast experience in the political arena, and I think at one time he was a close associate, or he used to give advice to Dr. Chidi Jagan. And the other one is our philanthropist and business executive, Mr. Dave Narayan, who's well known in the Guyanese, the West Indian community, and even beyond. Dave has contributed significantly to our charitable causes in Guyana, New York, Canada, and elsewhere. As a businessman, he is required to travel extensively, so he has vast experience also in the political economic sphere. We expect to be joined later by Dr. Vishnu Pram, who's the international journalist. Today, we are focusing once again on the tragedy, the MV Barima tragedy, and we are looking at some of the issues raised by people, the concerns, what the government is doing, and we want to focus a lot on the type of assistance that could be rendered to the affected families, the survivors. But before we proceed, we just want to give you a quick breakdown of the statistics. As of yesterday, 77 people were rescued. One of them died, unfortunately, and 73 were recovered. It means, therefore, that 30 people are still missing, and it is thought that some of them may be trapped in the wreckage, and there is some debate as to whether the wreckage should be salvaged or what, whether the ships will be salvaged, pull up, or what. But according to the Prime Minister, he said they will have to discuss with the family. But views are very divergent. People are claiming if the vessel is not pulled up or salvaged, it means that the government is hiding evidence. So I, for one, would say that the government should explore that possibility. Maybe Dave may have some thoughts on that, and he can highlight us. And I just want to say quickly at the introductory level that the opposition was clamoring for a commission of inquiry, but they didn't want any local commission. They want an international. Now the government has appointed a five-member international commission. Now somebody is saying at least they should have one Guyanese. The bottom line is we can never satisfy people. It's very hard. Anyhow, the commission has been duly sworn in today, and likewise, the government cannot look after the welfare of these people on an ongoing basis. The government has other duties to do. So what they have done, set up a special initiative to call the HEART, HEART. HEART means um, hope, um, empathy, aid, resilience, and trust. That's the that they mean. So this body will be responsible looking after the welfare of these affected families um, for the short term as well as the long term. That include financing, etc. And they got to work out there. I'm I don't know the terms of reference yet, but maybe we'll get to know about that later as the broadcast evolve. Now, I move on to Dave. Do you know if the government has any plans for, you heard from your contacts, whether they plan to raise the ship, bring it ashore, or to salvage it?
Dr. Tara, thanks. Yes, I have heard reliable. They're looking feverishly to get that ship uplifted and um, go to shore to do their investigation. They tried many ways, and because of the way the boat capsized, and because the boat is so heavy, they tried the chains and the wire rope and whatever it is cutting, is tearing apart to bring up the boat, right? The ship. Um, I spoke to some folks this morning, and they're still looking. They have to get special boat to uplift that. They're special lifter boat, and they're not close by as per se, but they're working on it. The president did everything that the people are asking for, meeting with the folks and getting a COI. And when you get a COI, they're trying to knock all these educated people, some as much as 35 to 40 years of experience in the maritime field and all these things. What else can we do for a nation that is so dogmatic towards the president and the government just because you want to play politics? Dr. Tara, I just watched the news and I saw a 10-year-old in New Jersey is missing. They went into a boat and whatever happened is child. Nobody's making a political gain out of that. In our case, anything happens in Guyana is a political campaign against the government or the ruling party. Why is that so? Back to you.
Mm. Okay, thank you, Dave. Professor, you want to comment on that and your other comments?
Well, there are critics in every field, and whenever there is a tragedy, people will seek to exploit that tragedy. And this case, the Barima, is a very tragic situation for Guyana because I have not heard or even seen any historical evidence where such an incident has occurred before. So it would be much more worthwhile to for us to wait and look at the situation. Now, I applaud the government for selecting a committee of external people. However, I still think that it needs at least one Guyanese representative. And the reason I say that is so that any this would be an ex post facto investigation, which is to say it's an after the fact investigation. For one, if you cannot salvage the vessel, then it will be based on circumstantial evidence. There were complaints about the seaworthiness of the Barima, which was built since the 1930s, I think. And there were problems. Now, what the government needs to reassure the people is that this will be an objective investigation, and whatever are forthcoming from evidences are forthcoming from it, that it will be disclosed. Otherwise than that, like Dave said, there will always be critics and there would always be people who are on the outside, have greater expertise than the world even thinks. What do I mean by that? I mean that in every field in Guyanese politics today, there are self created experts. And these self created experts are more critical of anything that occurs. And so the government has to safeguard, you know, themselves, itself in that regard.
mm,
Now, we know that an investigation like this will take time. And in the course of the investigation, there will be um, all kinds of negative comments, criticisms, and inferences that cannot be substantiated. And the government should not waste time in trying to fend off the critics, but to reassure the people that this investigation will take place without their interference and with all true objectivity that is warranted.
mm. Okay, thank you, Professor. Well, the president did say in swearing in the five-member committee that this commission will decide on its own procedure. They have wide latitude to investigate abroad, and there is no restriction on that. And he promised them whatever resources, whether financial or logistical, technical, the government will make it available to them. But it doesn't matter what the government say. The opposition is bent on wanting. Um, their mantra has been oppose, expose, and depose. This is part of an effort to destabilize the government. You can read it like that because the way how you're acting, as Dave just said, if you have a national disaster, people should come together. But every national event, they politicize. You had the Adriana Young story, is the same thing. And anyhow, they let's. You mentioned about the age of the vessel. Um, there's a prominent community leader in our community who's very much into humanitarian work. Sister Sita Omadat. Her father founded the first mandir in New York City. She had been sending containers and containers in Guyana with food, medication, and all other supplies, school supplies, distributing it throughout the country. So she traveled a lot in Guyana, even though she resident in New York. She made a point this morning, which somebody else before that made. He said the Atlantic was the most powerful ship built brand new. On the first voyage out, he hit iceberg, sunk. He said very few people were saved. Whether a ship is old or new or what, or a car is old and new, you can always get in an accident. So people are looking at this. Yes, the vessel was 87 years old, but just before that, he did another trip on the same route. During the PNC time, the regime Granger, that particular ship made 500 visits on the same route, and nobody complained about any deficiency or anything. I'm not saying that they shouldn't change the vessel. What I'm saying its function is only after this mishap that then people start to come up. But the commission of inquiry, you mentioned about seaworthiness, they will determine that, they will check. But one thing people are saying, and they're insisting, the opposition forces, you see that circus in parliament is a disgrace in parliament, how they conduct themselves rather than trying to do the people business. It's hard. You got to get rid of Minister Indar and Minister Bishop Edgil. Now, the there's a guy. I don't know he's from PPP or PNC, but he was in the Facebook and he made an analogy. He said, if you have a motor car, say a hire car, you own it, you give somebody to drive it, you get into an accident, three people die, two survive. When the police come and investigate, who they will charge first? The owner of the vehicle or the driver? The Attorney General mentioned about that this morning. And so when people are criticizing how the government moved too quick to charge these people, they will have probable cause, what is say, mens rea, to do it. And I don't think they will have very thin evidence. The DPP issued a statement saying that she is comfortable with that charge. If the opposition feel it was a wrong charge, they'll have a chance to debate and discuss that, put the argument before the court. So anyhow, that's I want to see we are now joined by Dr. Bishnu, but before I go to him, let me ask Dave, what do you think about the call to fire Bishop Edgehill and Minister David Tinder?
So Minister Indar is responsible for Marat. Has nothing to do with that, right? Has nothing to do with that. And I can read out all Marat administrative information which I have here, but it will be too boring for the folks listening. And you talk about that Indar Ninja Indar Edgel thing in Parliament. You know what's a sad reality is because Edgel, Minister Edgel is the Minister of Transport, and he is in charge. But the opposition and the black people say, how are you going to go after a black person? You got to go after and I think so. They start to say, okay, we're going to bring in the Indian one too, Indar. That is the sad reality of our country. I am not here to play politics or talk politics. I'm not here for Indian and black. I'm a Guyanese at heart for every religion and race, and everybody know I'm a practical Guyanese. That is a sad reality. To go after, instead of going after one minister, you say, no, no, no. If you're going to go for a black, you got to go for an Indian too. And this is a laughing story. They, with Dr. Pasad, I love that word, self-creative critics. Oh God, that is the whole show should be about that. I see so many comments. Everybody is a lawyer. I didn't know Guyana has so many lawyers that they know so much. But the facts are, is that the facts are that the captain and the other in charge were drunk. Narcos said they were drunk, and that is why they were charged. We understand and we are saying the boat, yes, maybe has some fault, and it did, and we should have maybe replaced it earlier. But what contributed to it? You understand? The man in charge of the boat was drunk, and nobody, and the third person in charge was nowhere behind the wheels as per se. And that is why they were charged. And that does not take that to the minister now or to the government. We will have to learn from this experience. We will have to get better boat and better thing. You said the Titanic, the Titanic had the first voyage it was saying. In about 50 years ago, Dr. Tara, in St. Kitts, there was one, a big boat, 255 or 256 passengers got drowned on a trip. That was one of the biggest or ever biggest catastrophe with a boat event. Do we blame the politician for that? Do we blame the government for that? It's a tragedy. But what we have to do is to learn and execute everything. I think from this experience here, they will imply all the rules and regulation and get seaworthy ship and thing. Look at our plane crash about 2 years ago with Mike Charles. Them, you're talking about the best pilot that country have, with some GDF guy and some other pilots. The best pilot that country had was Mike Charles, and he ran into an accident, right? And there were few survived, a few died, few death. What do we say in this situation? Why don't we come as a nation and sympathize with the folks that passed away, and also some that were saved? And that is what the president is doing. The president is meeting with each and every family one by one. The president was on overseas trip, and he flew back right away to that country and spent all that time on the Essecubo looking after the people. Let's not use everything for a political game. You know, the opposition leader. Um, I didn't see come out too much today because he lost that case with at the Caribbean court. You know, and that is what Anil Nandalal, the Attorney General, said. That if you look at these guys when they're talking, they're not talking like they're sad or sorry. They only want to criticize the government. When you see the president talk, and when you see him with his people, you can see a compassionate man with a compassionate heart. And what else do you expect from a president? He has to be a man of compassion for each and every Guyanese. The Amerindians, the black, the Indians, the Christian, Muslim, Hindu, and he is one of the few presidents that we have is on the road daily, daily actually, from sometime as much as 4 a.m. Our president is on that road till in the late nights. Why are we going to put the shoot him as per se, and for this incident,
Hmm.
right,
All
Dr.
right.
Tara?
All right. Thank you, Dave.
You're welcome.
We welcome Dr. Vishnu. Your comments.
Doc, it's 7:33 now. You want to take a break and then come back?
No, no, you can go for 5, then we will take the break.
Oh, okay. Well, listen. On the matter of criminal culpability, I am in no position to comment on that, of who is culpable or not. That is for the legal authority in Guyana. And in Guyana, everything is politics. Everything is politicized. If not this issue, it would have been something else. All matters in Guyana are politicized. And Dave Narayan talked about racializing every incident in Guyana. That is also a fact of life in Guyana. Every single incident is politically socialized and social racially charged,
Yeah.
because that is the nature of our politics. Our politics has not changed much from the 1950s to now, and it will remain this way for a very long time to come. So we have to deal with those issues. We just cannot avoid them anymore.
So the one Guyana concept that they were trying to forge, that doesn't seem to be working or having enough impact on the society as yet. What
It
do you say to that?
it is having some impact, because if you look at the elections of last year, there has been quite a lot of movement, um,
Mm,
from both races, the both major races, or all three major races, the Americans as well, towards the other political parties, that non-traditional political parties. But that doesn't mean one Guyana concept has solved, is the magical bullet for racial politics.
okay. Thank you. Asif, can we go for a break now? Yeah, okay, here. Okay, we are back. Now, we can focus a little on the type of assistance the government is rendering to the affected families. Now, we'll come back to Professor Narayan. From what you know from government release and other sources, how do you rate the government handling of the survivors and their families so far?
Uh, Before I answer that question, Doc, I'd like to emphasize this point that in every situation that there is a tragedy, it is easy to exploit that tragedy because the disaffected, and in this case, the politically disaffected, will attempt to mobilize. And it is easy for them to mobilize because they have nothing to lose and are looking for some type of recognition. And so when you're looking at a society like Dr. Bishram said, and what Dave alluded to, is that the political situation in Guyana is always uh, what you might say in Guyanese term, always bubbling up with with friction. And so it is easy for any kind of opposition force to exploit that. And in their attempt to exploit it, they do not see the kindness that is afforded to these people. And that is where the president comes into play. He was able to step into the situation and he was able to give some amount of assurances that while he cannot do much for those who have suffered, he will do his best to assist those who are still alive and who are the also the victims of those tragedy because their loved ones are in there. So it is not hard for people to start targeting those who are in the forefront. For example, they will target the minister, they will target the president, they will target all of these people and overlook the efforts to give assistance. And from what I have read, as you asked, Dr. Tara, is that the government with the president in the forefront has tried enormously to appease the situation without denying that this tragedy occurred. In other words, he's not trying to push it into the background. He's trying to bring it into the forefront and hopefully that he can have an objective analysis of what really occurred. Now, we know that maritime tragedies occur all the time, but in the Guyanese situation, which is very, very rare, except for boats, speedboats, and these kinds of things. So the government bears the brunt of the criticisms, and the criticizers will always obfuscate. They would not want to accept what the government is doing to assist those who are suffering as a result of this tragedy. So that is expected. And from my standpoint, and the standpoint of my training, is that sometimes you have to just ignore some of these simple minded accusations and continue with the effort assisting. And so, in this regard, I would be unequivocal by saying that I think the government is doing a great job in trying to meet the sufferings or to take care of the sufferings of the people.
Okay, Dave, your perception of the help the president and his team, especially the Minister of Human Services and Social Security and her team.
They are set up. They're setting up everything to look after each and every family, death or no death. That the one them also that escaped death to help them and to help them granular. I mean, very very granular. Not at the $2 a loaf of bread. The president has said that they will look after each and every victim. And sooner or later that's coming out. And I just want to bring a point that you didn't ask. They keep on saying, you got to get a commission of inquiry. The president set up. And next thing you're saying that no Guyanese in it. And if he had put a Guyanese in it, they would have said the Guyanese is there to thwart the investigation, to talk to the other folks. I don't know what else we got to do to satisfy the opposition and the nation. When that young girl was drowned and on the west coast, they burned down that hotel without knowing, and that little right at that hotel. Is it fair on the owner of that hotel, and so forth? Back to you, Dr. Taro.
Okay, yeah, well, Vish, your take on
As,
that.
as Professor Narai rightly pointed out, the role is to expose whatever weakness in government handling of any tragedy, of any matter, and politics like that everywhere, including here in the United States. So you would expect this kind of criticism any incumbent administration, wherever else. I have not seen any substantive evidence criticizing the government. I think the government has done a very good job in addressing the tragedy. The president, as they went out to meet with the families. Opposition members also went out to meet with the family. You must not dismiss the opposition completely, because they also attempted to help in whatever way they could, whether it was in rescue and recovery operations. And the president committed that whatever is required and needed, though that assistance would have been and was provided in the rescue effort as well as in the recovery effort. Government has gone to extreme to pay for the expenses of of whatever.
Mhm. Yeah,
Uh,
but they've made a very important point. When the president interact with people as opposed to the opposition, you can see the vast difference. With the opposition is a mechanical type of interaction,
Well said.
and with the president is organic. You feel you're a part of it. Is affectional, and you can see that. Everybody can see that, and there's one of our views has just made a point. Ramon, she said that the opposition is trying to gain political mileage from the tragedy, and instead of giving the family space to come to terms with their loss of their loved ones, they are adding fuel to the burning pains and hearts of these minds. There's one of our viewers who's saying that, and the Minister of Human Services and Social Security said that they will be there to give assistance as long as is needed. They have the team of psychosocial Probably, Professor, if you were in Guyana, you could have been a great help to them. But the president has set up this HEART initiative, HEART, meaning hope, empathy, AIDS, resilience, and trust. So there's a group that has been incorporated today and legitimized. So they will have to look after the ongoing daily, weekly, monthly, yearly needs of the affected families. As I said before, we don't know what will be the exact terms of reference, but I know they'll be in charge to look after the general welfare and well-being in the community. The, now let's talk about the the president. People, well, Chris Ram, for example, one of the critics of the government, saying they should have set up a commission of inquiry under the Shipping Act. Um, but AG, the Attorney General, says the Shipping Act is very restricted and it only does under the maritime rules. But the is restricted. It can only allow a maximum of three persons in the commission of inquiry. But whereas under the Commission of Inquiry Act 1903, they can appoint as many commissioners as possible. You'll have greater leverage and wider scope in the investigation. So under the Shipping Act, he's arguing that that will limited the scope and intensity of the investigation. So that's and then the question you raise about, I see Jonas, Mr. Jonas, senior counsel, made the point that they should have at least appointed one Guyanese, and you just point out how much money you got to pay to these foreigners who come in. You got to pay hotels, stipend, etc. But the opposition, they were the ones who were very vociferous in getting an international commission of inquiry. They didn't want local people. And now you get international people, they're saying that at least you should get one local. Now, your thoughts on that, Professor?
Yeah, Doc, it is easy to call on the maritime for a maritime act. See, one, we should not lose sight that yes, this incident occurred, and so the emphasis should not only be on the occurrence of the incident, but also on the emotions of the people who are suffering, the the, the socio-psychological framework mindset of these people need to be addressed as well. And in the initial stages, this is the most important factor, which I have seen through media reports that that effort is going on, that you cannot detach, you cannot separate the incident from the consequences. Because from the time you do that, then you are neglecting the people who are suffering as a result of the incident. So it's okay to say, all right, well, let's look into the ship, why it was not functional, or whether it was partially functional. Well, all of that is good. But at this level, we need to be empathetic. We need to understand the, again, to repeat myself, the socio psychological and emotional sufferings that these people are going through at the time. Now, that is more enduring and more imminent at this point in time. Because when you lose a loved one, you never forget. But if you begin to address it early in the, you know that people care. And so you will remember that while in your suffering, that you remember those who care for you, and not to worry about who to blame for this incident. And so, therefore, we need to know why the boat sank because of neglect. What does
No,
that prove?
no,
So
no.
we cannot.
Okay,
Just a
sorry.
last point is that it is easy to exploit the vulnerability of victims.
Mhm.
So let's not pay too much attention to those who would like to exploit that vulnerability.
Okay, Dr. Vishnu,
I
you
I'm in
you
agreement, Professor.
uh,
The urgency of the matter right now is to address the pain of of the affected families and of the survivors, and the commission of inquiry will come. I mean, yes, it happened quickly, uh, but let us address the needs of the population that is suffering at the moment. The establishment of HART, HEART, is step in the right direction, and they should consult with some psychologists, psychosocial workers to assist the victim in whatever way, financially. Um, Remember, many people who died are income earners, and so their families would be severely affected, and that needs to be addressed most urgently at the moment. The government has been taking care of the funeral expenses. They need to now go beyond that to take care of the day, as you pointed out, the weekly, monthly of the or
okay. I want you to comment on the search and rescue and recovery effort, Vish. If you can comment on that a little.
Okay, so that has been a bit fuzzy, where the opposition is claiming one thing and the government is claiming something else. I would go with the official response from the government. They establish a timeline of when they received the messages and what they did. This does not take away from criticisms that the that at some point, at some way along the line, there was a breakdown in communication. There may very well have been a breakdown in communication in getting the, but I really want to salute what I consider to be real heroes, the fishermen who went out there to find the ship, to and to actually us people who were in the waters, looking or seeking rescue, and a lot of lives were rescued by the fishermen. Um, Look, in a tragedy like this, it is not easy to go out in the middle of the night when we don't have the capacity and capability of whether it is aerial or marine rescue operation. But whatever limitations we had, it was a great job. Um, I don't know what could have been done differently for the people who were sunk below, because we don't have that capacity. We don't have the kind of diving expertise to go down there quickly and rescue people.
But at any one time, around the area where the tragedy occurred, or they went in several square miles, thousands of square miles searching with people. There have always been about 12 to 14 vessels and 3 aircraft scouring the areas. And I think the opposition leader, Ms. Azuddin, was there helping to identify people who were, who died, right? And he said he was able to identify quite a few people. There are other private people who were operating as well, and but they didn't have the camera with them, so we don't know how many they rescued. But all in all, whoever participated, we should be grateful for everybody who played a role there, irrespective of their political persuasion. Now, the the thing is, what we can go now to Dave. The commission of inquiry will happen, well, anytime now because they have been, I can expect them probably to start set up office probably next week. Um, do you expect to get cooperation from the opposition in particular in the commission of inquiry? Remember when
Well,
you had remember when you had a Walter Ruddy commission of inquiry? The opposition hardly participated. They didn't even recognize it. Go ahead.
the, the opposition will never cooperate with the government. From the onset of being opposition, they're making a whistle of that. And they will not cooperate in as much we need cooperation. They would not cooperate. And you use the word mechanical and organic. The opposition is not organic towards the people. They're highly mechanical. And when they're going to interview a person, he's like reading something or people post question and he's reading the question, he or she. It's too much a mechanical thing. And let me bring up something. Each and every person that was interviewed that was on that ship said the water was horrific, was very, very what the word, high tide and
Rough,
very,
rough.
very irritable, rough.
Rough.
Everyone say that. The other question, guys, every person supposed to wear a safety vest. How many wore it? And so, sometimes you just don't can't beat up the government. We are in a ship and we are supposed to wear our vests. I could understand the little babies and some maybe sleeping at the, but everybody's supposed to. But mm, I don't think anybody wore the vest, or let's say a few, and we could have gotten less tragedy. So how come we're not doing this stuff? We're not doing the right thing. Being in the Atlantic Ocean in the night and with rough waters, nobody's apparently wearing a vest.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Well,
so my answer to you, the opposition, we wish they can work with the government, but we don't see it that way.
yeah.
Go ahead.
You made a very important part. Individual responsibility. What is the role of in incident like this? Professor Narayan.
Yeah, that it is a situation, as I mentioned, that can be easily and readily exploited. So one should not expect any kind of cooperation from the opposition except the kind of photo opportunities, media opportunities that it present to them. And so they will even exploit those media opportunities for their own upliftment. And again, forgetting the victims and those who are still suffering as a result of this tragedy. Now, yes, there are individual responsibilities, but you and I have traveled Guyana. We have ridden in the boats in Guyana. This is not something that we are prepared for, and we are not the only ones. There are the people who travel every day and who have experienced the roughness of the waters. This seemed like something not out of the ordinary. So in terms of their preparation, might be lacking. And yes, hopefully, when the investigation is over, we will be able to know to what extent that the individual responsibilities factor into the the sinking of the boat. So to me, it is too early for us to really make pronouncements.
Mm,
And again, we should concentrate on the victims and what can be done to help the victims They will not be able to overcome what they have experienced, but at least they will be in a position to be able to deal with it in their daily lives. And that's where our concern should be focused more and more, and not on what the opposition is trying to exploit. And even call the opposition, like the names you mentioned or the name you mentioned, call him into play and say, are you concerned about assisting these people in their time of stress, in their time of need? How prepared are you? And are you willing to do so for as long as it takes? That is where the emphasis should be placed.
Mm. Yeah, well, thank you for that. We, I just want to make a point in reference. Somebody made a comment, um, whether we are a governmental group or not. This, the Guyana Dialogue is an independent group, independent of government, of the opposition, etc. Is not affiliated with any political party. We're a group of professional people who's dedicated to defend government policies and programs and to critique them wherever practicable as well. And so we make no apologies for that. We want Guyana to prosper and develop, and we'll continue to support any political party in power who is willing to develop the country fairly. And I want to make ask Vish to make a comment on that.
Oh, I was telling on a line, as everyone would know by now, from my history of writing in the mass media. But you had asked be in the opposition. Look, the COI is not about the government or the opposition or the public. The COI is to get to the facts of what happened that day, so that we can prevent further tragedies from happening in the future
Mm,
on any on any boat, or even or even on aircraft. That's the purpose of the COI. It's
yeah.
to one.
What mhm. What is very disconcerting though is that people, and especially qualified and educated people in the opposition, are injecting race into this whole thing. I don't know how race comes into it, and I I find it very unfortunate, because I thought we were making some good headway in healing the racial divide in the country, but by their pronouncement, they're dividing it further. Dave, you have any comments on that?
I think it's just that question mark few, that couple hundreds, maybe into 1,000 or so, that create this racial division. If you go across Guyana and you go to any bars or restaurant, or any social gathering, or let's say 4 person or 5 person sitting in a bar, two Indian, three blacks, three black, two Indian, and all across that country, Dr. Vishnu, you can say if it's true or like it, people doesn't really have that race, but the leaders of the opposition is imparting race, and that is what is detrimental to that country. Our country does not really has a racial problem across 100% population. It's that 1% or 2% and less in those racial areas that we all know it, question mark. Other than that, the whole country live in harmony.
Hmm.
And it's a sad thing for them to, you just said that if we are part of a government, Dr. Vishnu Vishram, was touted by the PPP that he's running against them for the last election,
Hmm.
right? And so, how do you say that Dr. Bishru is part or also part and parcel of the government? We
Hmm.
are not government. We are people that looks out for the country and looks out for the government. And all of us that on this panel have our track record to prove that.
Hmm. Right.
That's
Thank
it.
you, Dave.
Yeah.
Um,
Doc, Doc, my comment on this whole issue is that when you politicize the issue, when you politicize the tragedy, you trivialize the issue. And when you trivialize the issue, you're trivializing the lives and the sufferings of the people who have experienced that tragedy. And so I will challenge the opposition. You want to debate it? I be free to debate it because, to be honest with you, you know, my participation in this program is voluntary. I've taught for a university for over 40 years, and I have never tried to be subjective in whatever I present. So there are times when I may sound partial, but yes, that's I'm not going to claim that I am immune to some of my feelings, but at the same time, we need to heed the fact that the politicians who, like Dave said, will scream racism, it's an exploitation because here again, let's take the concept of race for a minute. When you cry racism, do you really know the meaning of the term racism? And when you look at the victims of the tragedy, on in what racial categories would you place them? So I think it is frivolous. I would like to use a harsher term, but I think it is frivolous for those who claim that is a racial issue.
mhm. All right. We can end shortly and some ask each one of you to make your closing remarks. Vish, your closing remarks.
I think it's absolutely critical that the government continues to provide support, um, psychosocial, in particular, to the family of victims as well as the survivors, and every effort should be made to find whoever else is out there in the water.
Okay. Dave, your, your
At the
closing
end of the
remarks.
day, at the end of the day, it was a tragedy. Who if to blame or not, it's a sad, sad tragedy for our nation, our country. I am very sorry for each and every soul that was affected in the family, and we have to do the very best as a nation to console each and every soul that is being affected through the loss of lives and through those who made it will be scarred for the rest of their life too. So it's very important that each and every one help in whatever way we could. The government has already said they will help handsomely to every victim.
Thank you, Dave. Professor Narayan.
I would say that to the government that as they proceed to take hold of the issue, they should not refrain from challenging their critics who claim otherwise and ask them to come and explain what they have done and to assess their contribution in assisting the people. Because this is not only a governmental effort, it should be a national effort. And so, if you're going to be on the sidelines criticizing this, then you have disproven yourself as being concerned with the national affairs of the country.
Thank you very much. And I have to reinforce what Dr. Vishnu also said, plus the two of you, that we got to keep our focus on the victims. They're the key people in this drama. Um, once we keep them in sight, and we are very happy that the president has set up the Heart Initiative now, which will ensure that that happens. But what is important, sustaining this or over a long period of time, that will be the challenge. So we also got to keep our sight on that to ensure that this does not peter off after a couple months. That these people will need a lot of counseling, guidance, and support for a few years, I would imagine. When the government said they are committed, I understand it's not for the short term, for the long haul as well. And I want to thank all of you for participating in this. There are many things we can talk about, but the key to it is the victims. And as I want to repeat again, we are a group of Guyanese who are committed to the development and prosperity of every section of this society in Guyana. And any government in power who's promoting the welfare and good, the development, we will always support that government, whether it's PPP or otherwise. And so, and I know people are saying that like we are a governmental thing because we take a view which we believe is very objective and considerate, taking all the whatever we know. We are not guided by social media because our 80% of the news on social media is fake. We're guided by our own practical experience. Dr. Vishnu goes to Guyana about 10, 12 times a year. Um, Dave Narayan goes there several times as well. I go about three, four times. We visit development projects. We talk to people. We interact with them. We visit communities, participate in community meetings, etc. So we have and Professor from Bushlat, West Coast, Berbice. I don't know if he has gone to Guyana this year, but he's in constant dialogue with family, friends, etc., keeping update what's going in Guyana. So we are not new to what the developments of Guyana or the problems. We have first-hand information as well. So I want to thank our viewers, and we'll be back next Thursday, 7 p.m. And once again, we thank Dave Narayan, CEO of Dave Asian Imports, who have been sponsoring the program for the last 4 years. Not sponsored by the government, by a private individual who loves and cares deeply for Guyana. Thank you and good night. Have a pleasant weekend.
Good night. Thanks.
Don't go. We go there.